Measuring cups and spoons for obvious reasons. Non-reactive pans, either enamel coated or stainless steel clad, not aluminum when you're canning. And I say this because of the acidic food. It will actually, it can have a reaction, the aluminum can, and it can make your final product taste metallic-y. Okay, and you don't want that. So you want non-reactive utensils as well, stainless steel, wooden spoons, a slotted spoon or a skimmer. Sometimes, like when you're making jellies and whatnot, when you're boiling your product, you'll get this foam on the top. You want to skim that foam off. A timer. Don't forget to time your stuff, because if you start something and you're like, oh, you know, I'll just eyeball, I think I know when 10 minutes is. You really want to be safe and process your food for the right amount of time so that you can be sure that what you're putting on your shelf isn't going to make you sick later on. Labels or Sharpie, I generally have a tendency to write right on the top of my lids because I'm not going to use them again anyways. What I end up doing with my lids is using them for dry goods sometimes afterwards. And you can erase the permanent marker. And obviously you're going to pick your water bath canner or your pressure canner. All right, we have a giveaway time. And do you know what? I forgot, I was so into what I was saying, I forgot to give away all the first prizes. So this is intermission too, but this will give us time to give away things. So Sherry is first going to give away the 3 sets of labels.
Yes, we have 3 sets here. I hope all of this are in the box, and we will check out this. It's all up. Everybody has a fair chance, right? All right, I won't be looking, so all right, our first winner, Delphi.
Delphidia.
And like Amanda said,
You found it. Thank you.
I will still put your name here, and then we'll put all the names back in the box so we get the 5 big huge prizes. Everybody has the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2. And the winner is Stephen. He's the winner. All righty, we have the third label here. Let's see, anticipation. Pat Russell. I have to say, Pat is very faithful. She comes to every class I invite her to. I think she's probably 12 years, been here for years. We really like having Pat. All right, and so Amanda, our next prize.
Our next prize is the bottle top remover.
All right,
And I've never used one of these, but this should pop the top off of a mason jar. This should pop the top off of a mason jar. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Robert. I'm glad we have Amanda here too. She's a lady. And Steve with her, I know. You should be biased, right? All right, Amanda,
Our next prize are the quilted covers, and I think these are the most adorable things. Now, this might be a girly thing. You're probably glad you didn't win this, Stephen or Robert. Maybe you might like them, you know.
What is it?
so you can put these on top of your, well, if you're giving away a jar of jelly, you want to put the ring on it, right?
Makes it look really professional.
It is, and you know what I love is it got the little beads at the bottom. That makes it extra cute. I don't know, I like it. But if you're giving it away, it's so cool to give it away with the quilted top. Yeah, there's also like a little knitted key ring inside of there. Mine didn't come with that. I was kind of bummed out. I was bummed out. But there should be 50 pieces of cloth inside of that kit. Yeah, there's 50. I was surprised at that too. So this will last you a while.
All right, we need a name, right?
Yes.
Let's see. The winner is, I'm excited, I'm done with my thing.
You're not eligible.
Right now.
Okay, and the fourth prize are wooden, I just thought these were really cool and I just wanted to buy them because I thought they were cool. Which are the wood jar covers that will fit the ball jars.
So Amanda, number 4 is a 3 package or the 1?
That's the 1, yeah. If you have your sheet, it will say 1.
Maybe put 5. All right, so let's see.
Whoever gets this, I'd love you to open it to look at them to see what kind of a seal it's got on it. Yeah, I think you'd use them for dry storage. Yeah, you're definitely not going to can with these.
Looks like Sandra. Is it Riley?
Do they have a seal on them? I want to see what the seal is. Do you mind opening them? I'm really curious. So we also got the small mouth lids. It's just a single package of small mouth lids. This is a real, yeah, the smaller box. Well, they call them regular mouth too. Yeah. Is it? Oh. Can I see it? I'm coming down.
Those are very.
Oh yeah, this is cool. I like that. It's classy.
Really inspiring me to want to try this candy. Very nice. Okay, our next winner is Susan.
Susan? And then you get the large mouth covers.
Okay. Alrighty. The name is
Okay, our next we have 2 of these little kits. That's a 24 count of small mouth lids and rings. So you'll get 24 small mouth lids and 24 rings. So 2 people will get that prize.
all right. So 2 have a chance. All righty. I'm glad you asked me to do this part.
It's fun, right? Just giving things away to people.
Ready? Lisa.
Lisa? And we have a second one of these. Okay, again, this is the same thing.
Paul.
You know, I'm kind of glad we did it this way. It doesn't interrupt things, I suppose. Yeah, it's probably better. It's just a shower of gifts. So next we have 2 sets of large mouth rings and lid kit. Same thing. One of them is a 12 count. The other one's a 24 count.
Those 2 separate prizes.
It's 2 separate prizes. One's a 12 count. The 12 is in the small bag, obviously. In the
small one first.
yeah.
Alrighty, next.
And there should be a couple of packages in there, or 1 package, right? Yeah.
Brittany.
Alright. And now we got the largemouth 24 count. Yeah. So if your name hasn't been picked yet, the prizes are just getting better and better. You're just like, come on! All right, so now we got, you'll get all these tools inside of this kit, pretty much all the tools that I spoke about. But this is a plastic version. You want to take the one in the back. It's the plain box. Yep. So you're going to get this. You'll get one of these. You'll get a plastic funnel, okay? Which aren't bad. So go ahead, pick a name. Yep.
That's the kind of reaction we're hoping. It makes it more fun. All right, let's see. Rosie.
Rosie. Woo!
And then we have stainless steel.
Yeah, we have the same kit in stainless steel.
Yenli?
All right, now, seeing as how we were supposed to do that throughout the first part of the thing, we're going to go right into books. There's actually, now we're going to have 12 books to give away. Let me talk a little bit about these books, okay? As I come down, you hear the thunder from the microphone. So the first couple of books we're going to give away, why don't we start with this one, the Water Bath and Pressure Canning Master's Cookbook. This isn't from Ball, it's not from Kerr, but it has a bunch of recipes inside of it and just basic instructions. Okay? So this is your first book.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. And the winner is Pat McKeeler.
Right? Okay, and this is a Ball Canning Back to Basics book. There's always a lot of recipes in these books, and it's a nice one. I really like this book a lot.
That's the last name I
Yeah. You're going to have to start over again. I think you guys are going to be getting a lot of prizes. She's running out of names.
Nancy. Name's back in.
That's good.
That's good though.
I'm going to say too,
Anybody a visitor that put their name and didn't receive a gift yet?
let me ask that, yeah. Is there any visitor that hasn't received a prize yet? Is there anybody that gave their name that hasn't received a prize? We just want to make sure that we have everybody covered. Before you give away the next book,
Yes.
I want to recommend this book a lot. I love this book. It's just got so much stuff in it, and there's so many great recipes inside of it, and it's a really nice, another Ball home preservation book, but I can't say enough about this one. Just remember this cover. It's really good.
All right.
Okay. Why don't we go? We got 5 copies of the Ball Complete Book of Home Preservation. This is the most recent copy, I believe, that Ball has put out. I believe it's the 2024 version. And it's got 400 different recipes inside of it. This is another nice book. In between, I don't know about you guys, but I like color pictures. You know, when you go to do a recipe and you don't see any picture, you need to see the final product, don't you? There's a lot of color pictures inside here in between. I will show them.
Yes.
You show them what they're gonna win, Vanna. But you gotta show them the color pictures, that's what they wanna see.
I'm showing them the color pictures.
I am. Just saying.
I'm doing my job.
Okay, I'm sorry. I've been kicked out.
Okay. This one that we're going to that's the one.
Yeah, that's the one. So we have 5 copies of that.
All righty. Yelly.
You guys didn't know you'd just be sitting here collecting prizes, did you? And how cool is this? I would love to be sitting in the audience right now.
Nancy King. Now go to Kat. Okay, anticipation. The winner is Sandra Rodriguez.
You guys that are giving out the gifts are going to start to get to know people now.
Yeah.
You're not going to have to wait for the hand to be raised.
Tammy.
Tammy!
See, Jenna. Yes.
I'm sorry, you guys. You got to pick up the enthusiasm. Jenna's my favorite contestant.
We got a different book here.
Oh yes,
We need a little advertisement.
this right here is the official USDA guide to home canning. So this is where you're seeing all your stiff rules. This is the book. This is like where you want to go to find out the official information, okay? Ball and the USDA are really, like I said, those are the places you want to start before you start rebel canning right away.
So we have 4 of these, Amanda?
Yes. Yeah, we have, that's a color print book as well.
Pat McClure. Another Pat Russell.
That's crazy.
Susan.
Nice.
We have one more, folks. We're not going to surprise you.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, Levi. Oh, one more. Prizes just keep coming. All righty, let's. Stephen.
Tammy, you're making out like a bandit. All right. That's, we're gonna stop right here, okay? I think, so we have another segment that's a little bit about dehydrating, and I'm gonna save those for our drying segment. Okay, so let's move on. So we're gonna talk a little about jar sizes and styles. You go anywhere from, and I know I've seen them larger than this, but this is a half-gallon jar. It's a wide mouth. And a lot of people will put, like I said, people can water. I was surprised to hear that, but not so surprised now that I think about it. But it's not something I would have really considered doing, but like I said, people can water. So juices, broths, things like that, mainly. You got your quart jars, which are for, you know, larger things. I prefer the wide mouth, and the wide mouth and the regular mouth is really a preference. A lot of times people will use the regular mouth for things that are more liquid, but if you got a giant tomato you're trying to stick inside of a jar, it's not real convenient. You know, stuffing them in the jar, it's going to be messy. So I just have a tendency to prefer the wide mouth jars in general. They also have ball, gets a little bit fancy, and they put out colored glass jars. I think these were given to me. No, maybe I did buy these. Did I buy these? I probably did. But I just think these are pretty. I like them, and they're no different than the other jars. They're just colored glass. And then you got these guys down here, and I just closed my book, but I'll give you an idea of what each jar is kind of used for. And, you know, I don't know this off the top of my head. I know what I use them for. But, so something else I learned that I did not know while I was doing this class, getting ready for this class, was, you see these ones that have shoulders? Some women or men use ball jars to freeze things. I did not know you're not supposed to put these in the freezer, the ones with the shoulders.
Oh, the wide mouth, yeah.
Yeah, well, it can be smallmouth too, but it's the straight ones without the shoulders. Yeah, and I have actually frozen these before. Nothing happened, but I imagine they're more apt to break if you're gonna do it. I guess I've done that. So there's the quart size. Yes?
My father's a beekeeper, and he puts jars in the freezer to keep them from thickening like sugaring.
Oh, really?
You put your honey in the freezer if you have an extra.
Stops it from
It
crystallizing?
will never spoil, and it will never thicken from the freezer.
Really?
And it doesn't matter the thickness of the neck, yeah.
Nice. Now that's nice to know. Yeah. And then what do? Just put it in warm water afterwards? So it stops the crystallization, is that what you're saying?
Stops it from sugaring.
Really?
And sugaring doesn't mean it spoils it.
No.
Right.
No.
That always brings it back liquid, but.
Right.
And it slightly changes the color of it when you.
Does it get darker?
Yeah, when you put it in a water bath.
Really?
But room temperature looks all right.
Yeah, yeah. I've decrystallized it before, but honey never goes bad, right?
It doesn't spoil.
It has no shelf life on it.
They found one in Egypt.
Yeah.
It was in the ground, the guy pulled it out,
Really?
opened it up, let it sit outside for a little bit, and stuck his spoon in and ate it.
Wow.
Wow, that's pretty cool. We have a 5-gallon bucket we've had for probably 9 years. And I haven't popped that one yet. But so then you have the pint jar, which the ones you're mainly going to deal with if you're doing just general canning all the time will be the quart, the pint, and the half pints. And the half pints are more like condiments, jelly, jams. And then you got these little guys. You know, oftentimes you'll use these for condiments or to give away to people. It's nice to give somebody a little something, you know. And they got the quilted jars, you know, they have the little diamonds on them. I like the jars. I think they're pretty. I think I have a little bit of a jar fetish because I just think they're pretty. But anyways, so yeah, it's saying the 4-ounce jars, which I believe are these guys, are the jams and jellies, mustard, ketchup, dipping sauces. This is so loud. The 8-ounce you can use for jams and jellies too. I mean, I suppose you could put jelly in here. I think my husband would love that. Believe it, it's true. But the 8-ounce pint, which is this guy right here, is for fruit syrups, and I've made blueberry fruit syrup before. That was so good on pancakes. Salsas, sauces, relishes, pie filling. I feel like I'm screaming at you guys. The quarts are more sliced fruit, and we have a tendency to, obviously we're vegetarians, we eat a lot. We're not going to open this can, and it's not going to do anything for us. We have a little bit of extra storage too, so I have a tendency to put things in quart jars. All right, where are we? And the other thing, well, I guess I'll get to that later. So there are also decorative jars that you can buy too. I know Ball has, that have like a rounded bottom. They're pretty. I haven't gotten any of those yet. Just saying. So I'm going to do a little bit of a mock demonstration. Bear with me, this isn't my kitchen. I'm not organized like I usually like to be.
Once you've opened one of those jars,
Yeah.
do you finish it right away, or would you be able to put it back in the refrigerator?
Well, you can stick it in your fridge, you know what I mean? It'll stay long. There's not any real preservative inside there, so to speak, you know what I mean? But yeah, you just put it back in your fridge. And actually, this is one of the things I was going to talk about, is it doesn't happen often if you're following the rules, but if you have a failed seal, you have a couple of options. You can either reprocess, which there's a set of steps to reprocess the food, but you got to figure it's going to run it through heat again. It's going to take a little bit more nutritional value out of it. I mean, just the heat processing alone does take away nutritional value when you're running it through these high temperatures. It's always, in my opinion, best to eat fresh, but if you got a ton of food, you want to preserve it, right? So you can, but a lot of times what they'll suggest too is just put it inside of your fridge and it'll stay. And this is something else I've done. I've made sauces from the garden. I didn't have time to can them, and what I did was, and this even works in, like if you have old spaghetti jars, my husband likes to save spaghetti jars, a lot of them, okay? So we got like jars down in the basement, and this is an applesauce jar, okay? You can reuse these, and even the USDA says you can reuse these jars, like even canning them. I find that for all the rigid rules that they have, a little bit strange that they'd say that this is okay, but it is. I've never done it before. I don't really plan on doing it. But anyways, I've made sauce before, and while it's really hot, I've ladled it into the jars. I've stuck the Ball lids on. I put them on my counter, and they've pinged. Right? You do the same thing. And then it's not shelf stable. Doesn't mean that it's shelf stable and you can stick it just because it pings, because now you haven't killed all the stuff inside of there, right? Or the potential for that bad bacterial growth. So what I did was I stuck them in my fridge, and I actually gave a jar to you, I remember, but we had it in there for 6 months and they were just as good on the last jar, and I think I had like 8 jars of sauce in there.
It was very good.
Yeah, the worst part about it is it takes up a lot of fridge room, but I mean, I didn't have time to can it, and I just did it. You can even, if you want to, you can can frozen food. Like I could go in my fridge and my freezer and get some peas, and I could can those if I wanted to. It's just, it's going to come out a little bit more poor quality. It's going to be edible. But I'm just saying in general, because some people have asked that question, and I found that a little bit kind of surprising too. But you can also make perfectly good jams and jellies with frozen berries. See, like we're getting a big influx of blueberries right now. If I don't have time, I can stick those blueberries inside the freezer and pull them out later. In fact, I cleaned out my freezer this week, and we got one of those drawer ones, and all the way at the bottom was all my raspberries from last year. And Valerie's gonna come to my house, and we're gonna make raspberry jam together. So, I mean, I had these berries for a year. I mean, it's almost been a year, because the raspberries are just starting, but yeah.
Have you ever done powdered milk?
I haven't.
Quite a bit of it.
Really? That's pretty cool.
Big things of it. But he has a root cellar.
I would love to have a root cellar. I would love to have, I don't know quite where we'd put it because we got a lot of garden out there, but I'd love to have a root. So we could even bury a freezer inside the ground. I've heard that's pretty good too. All right, so where do we start? So we got jars. I want to talk about something else. There's something called, and I didn't put a picture in the PowerPoint, but this is a weck jar. Have you ever heard of a weck jar, right? And with ball jars or cur jars or whatever jars you're using, and this is something else I want to say, don't recommend getting jars from the dollar store to can with. Or not name brand, not the ball or the cur. And I say that because you might just do fine with them. But I've heard that there is a lot more breakage. Somebody that I just heard of had put 10 jars into process and 3 out of the 10 broke. They weren't. And you can hold up these jars and see the quality difference. You hold these up to the light, you can see the difference in the quality between like a ball or a cur and something that you found. But there's another, there's Golden Harvest that's actually made by ball. So there's another name, and it's a little bit of a cheaper version, right? So this is a weck jar. A weck jar is not approved by the USDA here in the United States, but this has a glass top, and it has a, excuse me, a rubber gasket. And these you only replace the rubber gasket as needed. And from what I understand, I've never used a weck jar, but they last for a very long time. And what you do is, sorry, I keep hitting the microphone. You put that, I want to call it plastic, the rubber gasket on, and you process it like you would. There's metal clips that go on either side, and when you process it, that little tab, instead of being out, goes down when it's sealed, which I think, I would really miss the ping of the jar, because that's like music to a canner's ear. When you put all your jars out on the counter and you start hearing ping, 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 you're like, yes, you know? It's just an exciting sound to me. There's also something called Tattler lids. Has anybody heard of Tattler lids? These are also another lid, and this, I've never used them again. This to me, it looks like a hard plastic. It's definitely a plastic. It looks like they have metal and they do have plastic. Like I said, I have never used these before, but they have a gasket on them. It's not like this, but it's like this. You know what I mean? It's, you know what I mean. It's the rubber, it's this type of rubber, but in a thicker form. This obviously wasn't made for that. But a Tattler lid also you can keep reusing over and over and over again. Because when you're canning, they suggest throwing away or not using these for canning anymore, which I think is a smart idea. But there's a lot of people that actually do, that continue to use their things over again. I mean, if the USDA has approved you using a spaghetti jar to can in, then, you know, but anyways, I haven't reused lids, not for water bath canning. And what was I gonna show you? There was a jar, little lid here, but I guess I'll find it as I go. But anyways, I also want to say too, it's got to be this one. Yes. So they recommend that you inspect your lids, even new lids. And I thought to myself, I'm going to be honest with you, I thought to myself, it's a brand new lid. What's going to be wrong